The film starts and we see the hero of the story, John. His house was in the middle of the jungle. John was sitting very comfortably, but suddenly he heard a voice. When he turned around and saw, because there was a group of bad people who were enemies of these people. That's why John quickly got up and ran to his house. At the same time, John's dad, sleeping in the house, also heard the voices of the enemies. As soon as he saw outside to take a look at the situation, he got scared, because the enemy people were coming towards his house. By the time John also came home, and now both the father and son packed their things without wasting time, and leave through the back door. They also took John's wife with them, whose condition was very bad. Because of a disease, she was very injured. That's why John's dad realized that they wouldn't be able to run very far, because his daughter-in-law was also not being able to run. Seeing this difficulty, his dad hid John and his wife in a box like a pit there, which was a very dirty place, and it was also important to hide. After that, the dad himself went to face the invaders with a rod-like thing. The dad was alone. He went and fought with them. He attacked 3 to 4 enemies and killed them. But how long would he face them alone? They were very dangerous. That's why they attacked the dad in a single blow and mercilessly killed him. John and his wife were watching all this in the pit. They start crying, very sad, were helpless. They couldn't do anything. Now the enemies not only looted their belongings, but also took the bag which was left by them by mistake. That bag was very important for them, because it had the medicines of John's wife. If she hadn't gotten that medicine, her infection could have increased. They were already worried about this, but their disappointment increased even more when they saw that the enemies didn't even leave the dad's dead body. They take his dead body with them like prey on wood. After some time, when John came home with his wife, he was very sad to see the condition of the house, because they had ruined the whole house. And now when he saw his wife's wound, his worry increased even more, because the wound was very bad, due to which she had such a high fever that she fainted. Now they couldn't see any way ahead. There was only despair and death everywhere. But in this difficult time, John was brave, and he collected woods around, and first of all he fixed the fallen hut, because his wife was inside and this was his house. Then he left the water to drink for his wife and to face the enemies, so that he could take his bag back. Now it was the season of winter. The enemies took all his warm clothes. At this time, John was only wearing t-shirt and shorts, because of which he was shivering in the cold, and he was moving forward slowly. Now it was winter and he didn't even eat anything. Because of weakness, he fell down. He was about to give up, when he saw a small child in front of him. John saw a new hope in the child's face. That's why he stood up again with courage and started following the child. As soon as the child saw John, he started running in fear, so he also started running fast behind the child. The child's house was nearby, and as soon as he went inside, he closed the door. John also broke the door with his full strength, and he came inside the house. He saw that there was an old man in the house, and a small child was lying next to him due to fear. Both of them were shivering in the cold. Along with that, they were also afraid of John, that he might harm us, but John's goal was to take only warm clothes from here, which he quietly picked up and left. He then moved forward following the enemy's footprints, and reached a new place, where he was shocked, because he only found his dad's bones here. The enemy had already eaten his flesh. John was completely broken by this sight. Then he buried his dad's bones there. Now John was mad with anger, and he decided to take revenge on the enemy. With this intention, he moved forward again. He saw a tent at a distance, and he didn't go inside directly. To take a dangerous look, he hit the stone on the tent. But when he was assured that there was no one, he went inside, found a few things there: a box, a match, a knife, and a whistle, which he kept with him, so that he could use it later. When he moved forward, he realized that he was lost. He came back to the same place 2 to 3 times. That's why he climbed a tall tree and tried to find the enemy's location. His idea worked because he saw smoke rising from a distance. Suddenly, he was distracted and he slipped and fell from such a height. But this caused a problem. The sound of falling made the wild dogs focus on this side, and John hears the barking of many dogs. To save his life, he tries to run, but he falls suddenly. Because of falling from the tree, he got a deep wound in his leg. That's why he started crawling forward. It was night. The fear of the wild dogs also increased. When John acted smartly here, he collected wood and set it on fire. Then he burnt a piece of wood like a lamp and faced the dogs with it. Obviously dogs are afraid of fire. That's why they didn't dare to come close. They all ran away from there. And like this, John was able to save his life with great difficulty. He then fell asleep here. The next morning, When he woke up, the dogs were gone. John moved forward again. This time he saw blood coming out of the river. How was the blood coming? He went back a little to see this, where he saw a woman who was washing a knife filled with blood in the river. Now John acts smartly. He didn't go near her like this but started keeping an eye on her. As soon as the woman left, John also started following her with a stone. This woman was actually one of the enemies, and because of following her like this, he found out where the enemies were. But John saw that only that woman was there. Then he took advantage of the opportunity. He begins to go inside, but then he saw the bell tied with the wires below. That's why he came in carefully, and then he saw his bag. But what was this? When he checked the bag, all the medicines were missing. Now John quickly went inside the house. He started looking for medicines everywhere, but he was unaware of the fact that the woman had seen him, and now she was coming towards him. Then she came from behind and attacked John. He also attacked her, and then they started fighting. Now even though John was weak because he didn't eat or drink anything, he was still strong. He hit the woman hard. Then he picked up a big stone and hit her in the head, which killed the woman. After killing the woman, he started looking for medicines in the cupboard. But then he looked outside. He saw that the enemies had returned. That's why he quickly cleansed the blood and erased all the evidence of the fight, so it seems like nothing had happened. Then he hid the woman's body and dragged it out of the house. But when he was taking the body, his axe fell in the middle, and now because he was coming towards the enemies, he hid the body behind the tree. He also hid behind the tree and kept an eye on it. He saw that this time the enemies had caught the same little boy. John was sad that he couldn't do anything except watch. Now the enemies were preparing to cook. He saw the axe. He realized the danger, and he told this to his other companions. That's why they started searching the whole area. See, John quickly hides the woman's body from the leaves, and he also lay down to hide. After a while, when the enemies returned, he came crawling there and thinks of going inside the house. But then he saw that an injured enemy was guarding the house. John now started waiting for him to go. As soon as he went inside, he started running to save his life, which the enemies had tied to the ground. Now the boy who saw him and started screaming, he thought that he had come to hurt me. But he made the boy quiet and started opening his ropes. But the boy was not quiet at all. Hearing his voice, the enemies started preparing to come out. But until then, John opened the boy and helped him run. After the boy left, John came inside the house. He saw a wooden box. It had a lock on it. John was sure that the medicine must be in this box. That's why he started trying to break the lock. He tried very hard, but he could not break the lock. Then John sees that the enemy's leader has returned. That's why he quickly came out and hid under the house and started waiting for him to go back. When the leader came in, he saw the soil on the lock of the box, from which he understood that someone had entered their area. He told his other companions and they all started going back. John also realized that they had found out about him, because they had also found the corpse of his female companion. John lay down from day to night and started waiting. At night, he saw that the enemies had burned the corpse of his companion. There John's wife came to her senses. When she did not find John in the house, she thought of going out of the house, but the door was closed from inside. She tried to open the door, but because of the injury, she could not do it. Her condition worsened and she fell down. John waited all night. When the enemy was sleeping in the morning, he quietly entered the camp. He went to the leader very easily and stole the key from his neck, with the help of which he opened the box. His idea was right because the medicine was in the box. He quickly took the medicine and went from there after locking it. But in haste, he diverts his attention from the bell wire. As soon as he hit, the bell rang and the leader and the rest of the enemies woke up, and they started following him. To save his life, John tried to run, but because of his weakness, he could not run far, and was caught in the hands of the enemies. They took off John's warm clothes and tied him to the ground, after which they started burning the fire. It seemed as if they were preparing to cook him. Then John looks at the whistle nearby. He starts whistling it loudly. The wild dogs caught the attention. When the leader heard the barking, he took his companions and ran away. Seeing this opportunity, John cut his rope with a knife and hid behind a nearby tree. The dogs did not see John and his life was saved. He quickly put on his clothes and ran away, but the leader was very clever. To save himself from the dogs, he injured one of his companions, so the dogs chase him, and now he moved forward alone. John did not realize that the leader was behind him. He was tired and was sitting next to a tree. Then an enemy came from behind and kicked him hard and threw him away. Because now the leader was not going to leave him at any cost. He had made a plan to kill him, but here John also bravely fought him. There was a fight between the two, but in the end John killed the enemy mercilessly. After a long time another enemy came there. He saw that one of his companions was dragging John. so he went to help him. Actually, John had played a trick. He had put on his clothes to the enemy and he himself wore it. So this enemy had a misunderstanding. But when he came close, he felt strange, but before he could understand anything, John attacked him and killed him. Then John moved forward. He thought that he would do the same to the leader who was standing a little far, but he was not afraid at all. When John aimed at him with an arrow, the arrow came and hit the leader's leg and he fell down. Seeing this, John ran to him to aim another arrow at him. The leader had also given up. He closed his eyes and waited for death. But John's arrow missed and everything went wrong. That is, now they are equal. So they took a knife and stood in front of each other to fight. But before the fight began, they heard the sounds of wild dogs. Hearing the sounds, John ran away from there. Although the leader also ran away, but due to the wound on his leg, he could not run far and he becomes a prey of wild dogs, who tear his skin and eat it. Now this way John's revenge was complete. He also cleared all the enemies and he also got his wife's medicines. So he quickly ran and came to his house. After a lot of trouble, when he came back, he saw that the door was open, and his wife also disappeared from there. Seeing this, John was very disappointed because he felt that my wife must have been a prey of wild dogs or wolves. He sits on the ground and starts crying. But in the meantime, his wife comes to him from behind, because that day she had also prayed for her life and tried to save herself, because of which she survived today. Both meet each other and are very happy to see them alive and safe. And with this, the story of this film comes to an end.